The Halloween that I was almost kidnapped. Story by Let Me Ask You. My first memory was when I was 4 years old. My parents took me trick-or-treating for the first time. We lived in a tan townhouse with brown trim. It was pretty cold out, but I still remember a lot of kids and parents out trick-or-treating as well. I didn't understand the concept at first, but I got into the flow really fast after my first couple of houses. All I had to do is go up to a random person's door, say trick or treat, and get free candy. Life was going to be good from here on out. My mother and father wore pumpkin masks to get into the festivities. Funny, my first memory was not of their faces, but of the masks that they wore. I was dressed as a pumpkin too, but I had a plastic orange suit to go along with my mask. Not very original, I guess, but hey, was getting free candy, and that was the furthest thing from my mind. I was so overwhelmed and delighted with all these free, tasty treats that I started running ahead to the doors to get the candy. After I collected the candy, I would turn around and see my parents. Once I saw that they were still behind me, I would sprint to the next house as fast as I could. As I got down a few houses, the crowd started to get bigger. There must have been a group of parents together with their kids. I didn't see my parents after I got my candy from the next house, but I seemed to have made my way into the group of kids who were, like me, getting all of these delightful treats and didn't have a care in the world. This kept on for a couple of hours, and frankly my bag was starting to get very heavy. This is, of course, where I would need to find my parents again so they can help me hold my bag of candy. I searched through the crowd of parents and I didn't see mine. I thought maybe I had gotten too far ahead of them, so I stayed at the end of the driveway of the last house I got candy from, hoping that they would catch up. The crowd was 3 houses down when I finally saw who I assumed was my mom walking down the street. When she saw me, she started running to me. She scolded me for going ahead of them and getting lost in the crowd. My dad pulled up in the family car next to us. As we started to get into the car, 2 people who had on the same pumpkin masks came up shouting, "Help! Help! They're taking my son!" The crowd of parents circled the vehicle of the kidnappers while my parents and I got away. I do remember those creeps trying to say that I was their son and that they are making a mistake. As we were running away from the crowd, I saw that they pulled the guy out of the car and started to assault him. When we got to the house, the lights were out and it was dark. There was a moving truck with boxes in it in the driveway. We didn't even go inside. Instead, my parents and I got into the moving truck and started off to our new house. I didn't even realize that we were moving, but I guess you don't really consult your 4-year-old children about things like that. I was a little shaken thinking about all of the commotion that had just happened moments ago. I guess my parents were still shaken as well since they forgot to take off their masks. My mom gave me a piece of candy from the night's haul. I don't remember much after that. I guess I was more tired than shaken. I remember waking up to the sun burning my eyes. I looked to the side so I wouldn't be staring into the sun. I still felt a little out of it and uncomfortable. My mind was still hazy. My mom asked, "Are you doing all right, honey?" I told them that I thought I am a little scared and I don't know why. They told me that I feel that way because of those bad people from last night. As the ride continued, I started to feel safe and cuddled with my mom as my dad drove the truck down the road. To think that I was almost kidnapped by people in my own neighborhood makes me a little sick and jaded. As I was growing up, I always felt a little uneasy all the time, but I could never pinpoint why. It's most likely because I was almost kidnapped, but I'm an adult now, so I can take care of myself. I had a pretty normal childhood otherwise. Moved to a nice house across the country. I had a lot of nice friends growing up. I never wanted for anything as I grew up. Now I'm in college. Funny enough, I chose a college in a state we moved away from many years ago. I'm very excited even in these strange times. Though the other day I had to see my advisor regarding my first year classes. She was nice enough, but her eyes looked very familiar. She even looked at me in a weird way as if she knew me, but then continued on with her work. I couldn't see her whole face because of the mask, but after I left her office, I felt all that unease that I had throughout my childhood come flooding back to me. Other than the weird experience with my advisor, college life is fun and classes have been going well. But lately, I've been noticing my advisor outside my classes as they are over. I've been starting to get really creeped out by her. I don't really want to report her since she already has access to all my information, but somehow I don't really think that it matters. The other day, as I was leaving class, I saw her again, but this time it was with a police officer. His eyes, too, looked familiar. I saw her point me out to the officer. When I saw that, I booked it out of the building. As I was running, I heard the officer say, "Hey, wait son." I ran straight to my dorm, called my parents to tell them the whole story, packed all of my things and left as fast as I can. They got a plane ticket for me to head home. When I arrived home, my parents picked me up at the airport in a moving van. I asked why we are moving. They told me that they had been planning to move after I left for college and planned on telling me when I came back for break. It's funny, every time I get that strong, uneasy feeling, we seem to move. We passed my house as we were leaving the state. It looked like there were a lot of cop cars down the street. I hope everything is alright in my old neighborhood. I'm happy to have such great parents that love me enough to move when I'm in danger. Such an odd memory that I have, but I figured I would share my Halloween story with you. So, happy belated Halloween.